The midfield, the battleground which sees more action than anywhere else on the grid.
Fernando Alonso's had some brilliant battles over the years, and he's going to try another one in 2021, and Daniel Ricciardo just keeps ahead.
And where fortunes can be won and lost due to the smallest of margins.
First of all, we don't give up this fight for P3 as long as it's theoretically possible.
Brilliant move from Lando Norris.
And the borders are always shifting. In 2021, almost every team could move right to the front and stake their claim of being best of the rest, with hard-fought duels throughout the pack. F1's new era of regulations mean we have no idea who will end up where. And even though testing might have given us a few clues, things will only really become clear when the lights go out in Bahrain. For some teams, even moving 1 or 2 places up the constructors' table can have a huge impact, both in terms of prize money and team morale. But who is in line to make the biggest gains as we race into a new era of Formula One? F1's oldest team flirted with the top of the table in 2021, taking 3rd spot in the championship after finishing just 6th the year before. If they continue their upward trajectory, they could become a true powerhouse of F1 once more. They have big momentum and the resources to fight for wins again. They'll certainly want more trophies than the 2 poles and 5 podiums from last season.
Great weekend. A little bit, disappointed obviously to lose the win so close to the end, but it's part of racing.
They will have to be careful to avoid repeats of previous rule changes. They were shuffled down the pack in the last 2 big regulation overhauls, ending 2008 as constructors' champions, but dropping to 4th the following year as a radically different aero package caught them out. When the turbo hybrid era began in 2014, they were again behind the curve, culminating in their first winless season in 20 years. Things have been brighter since though, taking the fight to Mercedes in 2017 and 18 and showing real promise last year. With their hungry young driver lineup and an ultra-aggressive car for the season ahead, they have plenty of reasons to be confident. Just like with Ferrari, McLaren showed a great turn of pace in 2021. And although they slipped behind their old nemesis in the final results, the folks in Papaya took their first victory in 9 years, with 4 more podiums and a pole position to back it up.
It's McLaren and Ricciardo that win the Italian Grand Prix. Lando Norris comes home to make it a 1-2 for the men from Woking.
And for anyone who thought I left, I never left.
They were the best in class when it came to adapting to the rule changes of the late 1990s, when the width of cars was decreased by 200 millimetres. So profound was their understanding of the new rules that by the time the first race in Melbourne rolled around, they lapped the entire field, eventually winning 9 races and both championships. The new look MCL 36 is an interesting character. But if they can continue their upward trajectory of 2020 and 2021, they will have the perfect platform from which to threaten the front of the grid once more, in the hands of Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo. 100 races. That's how long CEO Laurent Rossi has mapped out for Alpine to be at the summit of Formula One. With 22 races under the belt last year, the climb has already begun, and there were 2 impressive landmarks on that journey, as Esteban Ocon took victory in Hungary and Fernando Alonso returned to the podium in Qatar. Other than that, Alpine mostly saw themselves battling with fellow A-listers AlphaTauri and Aston Martin, and with a target of being back at the front week in, week out by 2024, this season is crucial for their momentum, needing consistent points punctuated by more appearances on the rostrum.
This year with the new regulations, I will be happy if we get closer to that. And closer to that means a couple of podiums, very good consistency, fighting for points every time, being in Q3 comfortably every Saturday.
Ambition is one thing, but realism is another. And the French outfit have been careful not to overpromise, aiming to retain 5th again in the championship at a minimum. After their initial launch online, Alpine showcased a distinct-looking car, with their side pods, floor, and cooling louvres, or gills, catching the eye. Could these innovations help to accelerate their 100-race plan? only time will tell, but don't bet against them picking up more trophies. If there's one team that you can count to punch above their weight, it's AlphaTauri. Harking back to their Toro Rosso and even Minardi days, the Italian squad have always had to fend off bigger outfits with bigger budgets to get results. There was just the one podium in 2021, with Pierre Gasly once again spraying the sparkling wine, following on from his sensational Monza win in 2020. In fact, the Frenchman finished in the points in all but 3 of the races he made it to the end of, and was a near-permanent fixture inside the top 5 in qualifying. His teammate Yuki Tsunoda had a steep learning curve in his debut season, but found his feet by the end, and this gutsy move on Valtteri Bottas in Abu Dhabi was the best signal of intent he could have given to cap off the year. The new AlphaTauri AT03 looked solid in pre-season testing, and though it didn't set any timing pages alight, comments from the drivers that the car felt good out of the box bode well for the start of 2022. Decked out in British racing green, 2021 was something of a surprise for Aston Martin. Having pushed the limits of what a midfield team can do in their race-winning 2020 season as Racing Point, they achieved just 1 podium and fell to P7 in the standings. The investments of Lawrence Stroll and co in the team can't be overstated, with millions being spent on a new factory and wind tunnel complex at their base in Silverstone. With 4-time champion Sebastian Vettel there to steer the team, supported by dependable point scorer Lance Stroll, a standout sophomore year is what's needed to help the team reach their ambition of being frontrunners. So what about Williams, Alfa Romeo and Haas? Williams showed real promise of a return to former glories in 2021, scoring in 4 races during a purple streak in the summer, including George Russell's magnificent wet qualifying lap in Belgium that earned him a front row start.
It's a stonking lap. You've out-qualified Mr. Hamilton. George Russell. P2.
Come on! Yes! Yes! Woo! Yes, guys! Oh my God!
Alfa Romeo's all-new driver lineup of Valtteri Bottas and Zhou Guanyu will refresh the team's ambitions, and Haas will have high hopes for their new chassis, having switched their focus to sole development of the VF22 more than a year before it would hit the track. And history teaches us that teams at the bottom of the standings can rise quickly when big rule changes come in and shuffle the pack. In 2008, Red Bull finished 7th in the standings, Honda 9th. The following year, Red Bull finished runner-up, and Honda's new incarnation, Brawn GP, now the Mercedes team, won both titles.
And now here comes Jenson Button, the 2009 World Champion!
Proof enough that a bit of forward thinking and some revolutionary engineering from the sharpest minds in motorsport can turn the constructors' table on its head in an instant. What is guaranteed, though, is that the battle for every point will be more intense than ever as teams fight to establish their futures in a brand new era of Formula One.